a sitting secretary was just accused, on the record, of corruption, constitutional violations, and abuse of power, and then told to resign immediately. This wasn't political theater. This was a direct demand for accountability inside the United States government.
Gentlelady's time has expired. I now recognize Ms. Ramirez for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, it's good to see you. I'm going to go straight to the questions because I have a lot of them. Let me start just following up with Congressman Goldman about judiciary. Do you agree that the judiciary is a co-equal branch of government and it is your obligation as a member of the executive branch to honor decisions made by the highest court of the land? Yes or no, Secretary?
We are abiding by all federal judges' orders, absolutely.
So yes, it's a co-equal branch of government. Okay, well, let me ask you a follow-up question to that. Do you agree that Congress is a co-equal branch of government and it is your obligation as a member of the executive branch to honor legislation and appropriations duly authorized by Congress? Yes or no?
Yes, that's why I'm thrilled to work.
Well, let me ask you the follow-up question here because I have a lot of them. Do you agree that Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse? Yes or no?
Yes, it is a duty.
Do you believe that, let me ask you another follow-up, it's just yes or no. Do you believe you have the power to disregard congressional appropriations and unilaterally repurpose funds that have been duly appropriated by Congress? Yes or no?
Ma'am, we are not doing that.
So the answer to you is no. All right, well, it was a yes or no, Secretary. Let me continue. Interestingly, you said no. But since you've been Secretary, you have repeatedly disregarded the law. You have illegally impounded funds that Congress appropriated and that your branch of government must implement pursuant to the law. Yet you've closed offices established in law, including the Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, the Office of the Immigration Detention Ombudsman, the Office of the Citizenship and Immigration Services, and you've canceled contracts for programs authorized in law, including shelter and service programs and citizenship and integration grants. You've obstructed and roughed up members of this committee as they attempted to conduct congressional oversight, and then you vilified them. But my question is, if they were so bad, why were they allowed to go in after to conduct oversight? Let me just continue. You redirected funds to terrorize our communities. You created taxpayer-funded political propaganda campaigns to terrorize families and children who don't sleep at night because of the terror of those commercials that you are putting out there. You hold sick, disrespectful press conferences in my state where, let me be clear, you are not welcome. You corruptly used emergency authority to avoid procurement to make Trump's private prison donors richer by directing $45 billion for them to expand ICE detention centers. You defunded work to address real threats to the homeland, all while you pursued college newspaper editors, labor leaders, and even a Harvard scientist who failed to declare frog embryos at the airport. Clearly, we don't have time for all my questions, so I have 13 pages worth of questions that I will be submitting to the record that I expect you and the administration to answer. But here is my final question to you. When you took your oath, did you swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America? Yes or no?
Yes, I did.
So I find that laughable. You don't behave like someone who takes that oath seriously. And let me tell you why. We don't live in a dictatorship or a monarchy. Trump's will is not the guiding doctrine of this nation, and our country is not a playground for his or your twisted authoritarian fantasies. We are a democracy. We defend the Constitution and we affirm the rule of law. We respect the co-equal branches of government and we uphold our rights, even when we disagree. The foundation of our nation is based on a core set of constitutional rights upon which our prosperity, our pluralism, and our peace depend on it. You, however, have been leading this work for 116 days. And in that time, you have profiled and dehumanized our neighbors. You've betrayed our constitutional commitment to due process. You've deported United States citizens. You've undermined the courts. You've broken the law. You've engaged in corruption, and you've weaponized the immigration system to violate civil rights. As Senator Murphy perfectly stated, your department is out of control. But you're responsible. You have betrayed the sacred fundamentals of your oath. And I believe to my core that you are not fit to hold the office. And I again, to your face, demand your immediate resignation. And I put it and place it on the record for all of us to see. With that, Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields. Mr. Gabarino is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Secretary, thank you so much for being here today. I'm the chairman of the Subcommittee on Cybersecurity Infrastructure Protection, so I work with CISA a lot.
What started as a routine oversight hearing quickly turned into one of the most explosive confrontations we've seen this year, when Representative Delia Ramirez directly accused DHS Secretary Kristi Noem of corruption, constitutional violations, and abuse of executive authority, all before demanding her immediate resignation on the official record. And it began with what seemed like a simple constitutional question. Ramirez asked Secretary Noem whether she agreed that the judiciary is a co-equal branch of government, and whether members of the executive branch are obligated to follow federal court decisions. Noem answered yes. Then Ramirez followed up, asking whether Congress is also a co-equal branch of government, and whether the executive branch is legally bound to implement legislation and appropriations passed by Congress. Again, Noem answered yes. But that's when the tone shifted. Ramirez pointed directly to Article 1 of the Constitution, which gives Congress the power of the purse, and asked a critical yes or no question. Does the executive branch have the authority to disregard congressional appropriations and unilaterally repurpose funds that were lawfully approved by Congress? Noem responded by saying that DHS was not doing that, but Ramirez wasn't convinced. She accused the department of illegally impounding funds that Congress had already appropriated, alleging that under Noem's leadership, DHS had shut down legally mandated offices, including Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Oversight Divisions, Immigration Services Watchdog Offices, and citizenship integration programs that were authorized by law. Ramirez then escalated the accusations, claiming DHS had canceled contracts tied to shelter and service programs approved by Congress, obstructed members of Congress attempting to conduct lawful oversight, and redirected taxpayer funds into messaging campaigns that she described as designed to terrorize families and children. And then came the most serious allegation. Ramirez accused Secretary Noem of using emergency procurement authority to bypass standard contracting rules, directing billions of dollars toward expanding ICE detention facilities operated by private contractors. She argued that these actions were taken not to address genuine national security threats, but to benefit politically connected interests. Ramirez went on to claim that DHS had deprioritized legitimate homeland security risks while pursuing actions against labor leaders, student journalists, and even a university scientist detained over an undeclared research specimen at an airport. At that point, Ramirez said she had more than a dozen pages of additional questions she would be submitting for the official record, before turning to what she described as her final and most important question. When Secretary Noem took the oath of office, did she swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States? Noem answered yes. But Ramirez fired back, saying Noem's actions in office did not reflect someone who takes that oath seriously. She warned that the United States is not a monarchy or a dictatorship, and that no administration's political will overrides constitutional limits or the rule of law. Then, in a moment that stunned the room, Ramirez formally stated that she believes Secretary Noem is not fit to hold the office and demanded her immediate resignation, placing that demand into the official congressional record. The exchange has since sparked renewed debate about executive authority, congressional oversight, and whether federal agencies are operating within the constitutional boundaries that define the balance of power between branches of government.
As scrutiny intensifies, the broader question now facing lawmakers and the public is whether oversight mechanisms are strong enough to ensure accountability at the highest levels of executive leadership.
If you believe public officials should answer to the Constitution, not political pressure, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss moments like this. Because when accountability is demanded in real time, the public deserves to see it in full. Share this video so more Americans can stay informed about what's happening inside their government.